USC wins, they're in. They lose, they're out. TCU is more of a wild card in regards to how they're going to be perceived if they win. I think they should be in. They've earned it, undefeated season. But a lot of people say, hey, they don't play at the same level. Uh, you know, I guess we can only focus on Ohio State here in regards to if they sneak in. There's only a guess as to what the psyche is. Is it, hey, we got another chance, man? This is going to breathe life into the program, or it's kind of like, we're a little unsure of whether we can pull anything off here.
No, I think they just from everything I've heard. I mean, Ohio State's back to business. They were in the facility on Sunday, back to work, because in their mind they're going to make the playoffs, and they're still making a run at this thing. And I think the mentality at Ohio State is actually really good, considering what we just watched. It's actually higher morale than I would have anticipated. And if they do sneak in, I think it'll be interesting. Because I talked about it when Tennessee played Georgia at Georgia. Your quarterback's going to have to play his best game, Heisman caliber type of game, to beat this Georgia defense. And Hendon Hooker did not. He was off in that game. And so Tennessee ran out of the stadium. I think the same will be true when Ohio State plays Georgia. I think this defense matches up really well against Georgia. Their offense, Stetson Bennett, what he does. But the reality is going to be, if CJ Stroud doesn't play his best, they stand no chance at beating Georgia, Michigan, TCU, or USC, any of those teams.
Zach, do you have much thought on TCU? Have you seen them play much? Obviously, they're hanging by a wire in most of these games, but to their credit, they pull them out.
Yeah, they do. They do. They're a team that finds a way to win. You go from the Texas game to the first Kansas State matchup, now the rematch coming down the wire here. And it's like one game, their offense just looks ridiculously explosive and dominant, and the defense struggles. And then the next game, the defense just shuts down Quinn Ewers in the Texas offense. And, the offense struggles a little bit. So they're a team that's kind of trying to figure out how to win at a consistent clip. And at this level, I mean, TCU's not been a nationally relevant team very often, and they certainly have never had an undefeated season where they're looking a playoff berth in the face. So I think they're interesting because they have some explosive players. They have a good defense that has went through some struggles, but at times they look great. And I've told Ohio State fans all along, with the pass defense being the weakness for Ohio State, I don't think TCU or USC is an advantageous matchup for Ohio State. I think Georgia's actually a better matchup for Ohio State than either of those teams.
So, yeah, let's look at USC. And a lot of people got a look at Caleb Williams for the first time against Notre Dame. I've seen him play a bunch of times. But there were comparisons made during the broadcast of Pat Mahomes, and I can get it from the standpoint of arm angles and the standpoint of just the way he backs up in the pocket and will kind of get himself out of the pocket. And sometimes he'll decide, I'm just backing straight up. Or sometimes he'll obviously roll right. And he just did things that have to demoralize a defense that has worked so hard to pin him back there and chase him around. And then he completes an 18-yard pass downfield. So, we came into the season thinking Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are the best quarterbacks in America. Most people did. They certainly have had really good seasons. But this Caleb Williams, he's pretty special, isn't he?
He's a gamer. He's a baller. I mean, he's reminds me a little bit of Kyler Murray. Maybe not as flamboyant back there, but he's a great athlete that makes plays. Like you said, it's the Pat Mahomes comparison, although they aren't comparable players yet, but it's kind of that wild card factor, right? Like you said, sometimes he's going to take a traditional drop. Sometimes he's just going to kind of sit there. Sometimes he's going to backpedal. He might take off and run and keep his eyes downfield. He has so many different ways to impact the game, and he's fun to watch. He's entertaining, and he is a dynamic player. And I think with the skill set they've built around him through the transfer portal, Lincoln's brought in some players, obviously Jordan Addison being the keynote from winning the Biletnikoff last year, but he's got some athletes around him. He's a baller. He's a gamer, and he's must-see TV.
So, Zach, looking at Caleb Williams and what he's able to do, looking at Bryce Young, and certainly CJ Stroud is phenomenal. When he's on his game, he can throw it better than anyone in the game. But there is a thought there that if you can have it all and you're Ohio State and you can pretty much have it all, why would you not in the future try to get the next Justin Fields when they present just another threat to the defense that CJ Stroud just either refuses or doesn't have in him? I think it's a combination there that recruiting quarterbacks in the future, you go for more of a guy that's going to be a more physical runner and gifted runner.
I think it's even more than that. I mean, CJ's athletic enough to do it. I think it truly is more about a square jawed, tough ass quarterback. You know what I mean? Like a guy that you listen to Justin Fields talk in interviews, and this is the intangible side of quarterback play that's so much more important than just arm talent or athletic ability. You listen to Justin Fields talk in an interview, you feel like that's a real dude. JT Barrett the same way, right? Dwayne Haskins to an extent the same way. And CJ Stroud, you feel like, man, like get some, like, grind your teeth a little bit, like get a little angry. Like you don't see a lot of emotion out of him. You don't see, he's very cerebral, very calculated, very calm. And you know, that's his way of playing quarterback, and something that is a part of the evaluation process. As good as CJ Stroud has been, I don't know that he's played well in a single big game against a good opponent.
Yeah, I'm not trying to I'm the last one to play psychologist, but at the same time, I'm right there with you on that. Because again, we've seen players throughout the ages, you know, be really good players and do it. But, you know, if you're playing left guard and you're a natural leader, well, you're going to emerge as a leader in the locker room. But if you're a quarterback, you have to be a leader. Like,
have to.
There's no getting out of that. You have to be a leader. And to just see JJ McCarthy, for example, and just have kind of this way about him, just this swag, that people feed off, his teammates feed off, and CJ kind of sends to mope around and look at the ground and not really get in the face of his teammates to get him either, I'm going to kick your ass because you better run that route right, or, you know, let's pick it up. We're okay. None of that either way. You just don't see any of that out of him.
No, you don't. And it's the greatest, I guess, example of it was Saturday, because JJ McCarthy, obviously he deserves all the credit in the world. I mean, to get that win, to do what he was able to do was outstanding. But I mean, he was 3 for 10 on throws over 10 yards. It wasn't like he was lighting the world on fire with his arm or dicing up Ohio State's defense. But to your point, he had the fire, the passion. Like the team takes on the personality of your quarterback. It always has been true, always will be true. And that team kind of rallied around JJ and his swagger and his confidence. Even if he only completed 3 passes over 10 yards, that didn't matter, because they took on his persona and they follow their quarterback into battle, right? Where CJ Stroud, it felt like, come off the sideline. It's like, it's all right, man. We'll be good. We'll get him next time. Like, win one for the Gipper. Like, come on, man. Like, let's get a little passion and energy out of you.
Get Zach Smith breaking down Ohio State, Michigan, and the rest of the nation here. And are you still in the boat that Georgia's the best team, or would you put Michigan right there with them?
I mean, I think Georgia's the most complete team. Stetson Bennett, both phenomenal defenses. I mean, I think those are by far the top 2 defenses in the country. They're going to cause problems for anyone, including each other. But the difference maker is Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is like JJ McCarthy, but a far more polished, more veteran, kind of more experienced version, right? He's a little better thrower. He's a little bit more of a gamer because of that experience. So I give Georgia that slight edge because I would take Stetson Bennett over JJ McCarthy today. But I think that's going to be an outstanding game if those 2 teams end up matching up at the end.
You worked with Luke Fickell. There was thoughts that he's not going to take any job unless it's Ohio State or maybe Notre Dame, because he's a Midwestern guy. However you want to define the Midwest, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, they're both termed the Midwest, but they're like 1,000 miles away. Right. But obviously the money meant something, and being in the Big Ten as a head coach.
Yeah, and I think the money mattered, right? Obviously, whatever, I didn't read what it was, $7.6 million or something. It, you know, big jump in salary. I don't think Luke makes decisions because of that. I think that whatever Wisconsin told him, and when Luke Fickell took that job, here's what it told me. Wisconsin put stuff on the table for Luke to make him believe that they can have high success when it comes to staff pool, how much money he can pay his assistants, the NIL structure, the amount of money they're going to spend on recruiting, because this is a school that spends $400,000 a year in a recruiting budget when Ohio State's spending like $2 million, right? So I think they had to present him a plan saying, this is how we're going to kind of give you all the tools you need to be a Big Ten championship caliber team. Because he would not have taken that job if they didn't do that. Whether he got a couple more $1 million or not, it's not the money for him. That's why I always felt like Penn State was that one that might get him. It seems like Wisconsin stepped their game up and wanted to, I guess, enter the chat, right? Sit at the table with the big boys. And so they had to go get Luke and show him that they're going to do what it takes. I'm excited for him. I'm with you. I did not think it was going to happen. No chance was he going to leave Cincinnati and move his family out of the state of Ohio to go to just a B tier program like Wisconsin. But he did it. So it just shows me that they're trying to level up at Wisconsin.
Graham Mertz is at 5-star, who definitely hasn't gotten it done. Now we see Cade McNamara is going to enter the transfer portal. He's not a great quarterback, but he's accomplished things. Is he a good fit to like a Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa?
Absolutely. I mean, he's good enough, right? He's not a guy that's going to go win you a national championship or win you a bunch of big games, but he's a guy that is smart with the football. He can make some throws. He's obviously has a ton of experience, so it's not like you're throwing some rookie out on the field. I think he's a great kind of stopgap until you can find, hopefully, your franchise quarterback if you're a Wisconsin or any of the schools you mentioned. Really, if you're Matt Rule at Nebraska is another great one. Just you got to find a guy that is not going to. He's not going to lose you games. He might not win you the Ohio State game, but he's not going to lose you the freaking Northwestern game.
Absolutely. And one last shot here with the Big Ten Championship coming up. Some people forget that that's actually going to be played here Saturday night. I just mentioned Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. I'll throw Illinois in there. They're almost the same team. They rely on defense. They run the football. They're, I'll be kind, limited in the passing game. I would say Iowa's defense is at another level because they actually take the ball away from people and score. But the other three defenses are pretty much in the same league. They're top 15 to 25 defenses in the country. Purdue's like a wild card. Like they play different than everybody else in that division. And because of it, they look better than everyone on certain weeks. But then other weeks, they look awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just Jeff Brom and his system, right? It's not similar to Mike Leach, but similar kind of mode of thinking, right? Where you watch Mike Leach's team and these offensive gurus that are pass happy. Shoot, I mean, we could probably throw Ryan Day in there too. They'll come out and look like world beaters one week, and then the next week they'll come out and the timing's off in the throw game. I mean, I heard it was raining when Ohio State played Northwestern. Like, there's all these different excuses that throw these pass happy guys off, and all of a sudden they don't look the same. And not only on offense, but defensively. I think it has something to do with that toughness you develop with inside drill and some of the stuff that, Wisconsin and Illinois certainly are running the hell out of the football on each other in practice. So a team like Purdue, a team like Mississippi State, it's almost like they're hit or miss. They might come out on Saturday and light the world on fire and look outstanding, but they also might get rolled by 50.
Zach Smith, Minister Sports, every Monday through Friday right here on YouTube at noon. Get there and check out Zach's work right there. Zach, we appreciate you stopping by as always, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.